7 years ago, the government flooded about 10,000 homeowners in West Houston in order to save the rest of the city. They basically took their land. It's called an eminent domain or a takings case, or if you want to be real technical, it's called inverse condemnation. So in any event, Vuk and I represent 1,000 West Houston homeowners in these cases, along with another group of lawyers on the leadership committee. There's about 10,000 total cases that have been filed. Billions and billions and billions of dollars in property losses. And it looks like we've won the cases after 7 years of fighting the U.S. government. And so this morning we're going to federal court. The federal court from Washington, or the federal judge from Washington, D.C. is flying down to Houston in order to conduct a hearing on a bunch of legal issues. It looks like that we are heading towards some sort of negotiated settlement now. When you talk about settlement and you talk about 10,000 potential claimants, you talk about billions of dollars of risk, you talk about the federal government, that can take a very long time and be very complex. And so the government can take your property under the U.S. Constitution. That's clear. But they have to pay you for it. And that's also clear. And so we've been fighting this battle. In fact, we're on the leadership committee appointed by the federal judge to oversee this litigation. There's a small number of lawyers that have been working together for years to make this happen. And anyway, we're finally getting close to the finish line. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens this morning. I'm gonna go to Beaumont, which is about an hour and a half east of Houston, for a hearing in a case involving Anheuser-Busch, massive highway fatality. Anheuser-Busch is trying to distance themselves from the truck driver that caused my client's husband and father to be killed in this crash. And we're trying to get Anheuser-Busch to provide some basic information about, for example, let's see the contract that you used to hire these companies. They can't even find the contract. They're claiming the contract's gone. And I'm sitting here thinking, you know, in 2026, a contract disappears. What are you talking about? A contract is digital now. All of the contracts are digital. It's on a computer. There's no way it's gone unless somebody actively destroyed it. And so we're trying to get to the bottom of that. What I'm trying to do today is get the court. So the court's already ordered Anheuser-Busch to produce a witness in this case, but they want to do it 4 months from now, which is too long. And so we're trying to get the court not only to compel Anheuser-Busch to produce a witness within a reasonable amount of time, but we're also trying to depose the truck driver. The truck driver doesn't live in Texas. He's not a U.S. citizen. He barely speaks English. He had no business being behind the wheel of an 80,000-pound commercial vehicle, and Anheuser-Busch, through their brokers, hired him anyway. And he doesn't want to come to Texas at all and give testimony. And I kind of understand that because he's under criminal indictment in Jefferson County for this wreck. And so he's trying to stay the heck out of Texas. Well, guess what? Texas has ways to reach out and get people. And so we're going to be in front of the judge today asking the judge to reach out and compel the truck driver to show up in Jefferson County and answer for what he did. You know, fairly standard for me to have multiple court hearings, multiple depositions, multiple mediations in a week. I had a deposition yesterday, for example. I've got a deposition on Thursday and Friday, and then I've got these 2 court hearings today. So it's a busy job. A lot of people think that lawyers just talk and write letters, and that's kind of true. But it's a lot of talking and it's a lot of writing letters. And those words and those letters can have a pretty significant impact on people's lives. All right, so anyway, we got Vuk, and you know, people probably wonder sometimes like how often it is that both the V and the B are together in a hearing, and the answer is not very often, quite frankly, because it has to be a fairly significant matter. This is billions and billions of dollars at risk.
Well, first of all, this is the largest takings case in the history of the country. So as Brian said, it's really important. And what's a takings case? Well, the government's not allowed to take your private property without compensating you. That's the Fifth Amendment. And so usually you think about the government says, hey, we need to build a highway through your yard. Then they work out a deal with you and they pay you some money and you got to move. But sometimes the government doesn't come to you first, and sometimes the government just will take your property and then litigate with you after the fact. That's called inverse condemnation. That's what happened here. About 15,000 private homeowners behind the Anheuser-Busch dams had their homes flooded during Hurricane Harvey because the dams were there. If the government had not put the dams there, none of that water would have backed up onto any of those properties.
This case has been going on for so long that the original judge passed away.
Yeah, there's been prior judges. This litigation's been going on for about 8 years, and so there's been multiple judges, and they come in from D.C., they come to Houston. Judges have come in and actually taken a tour of the impacted areas behind the Anheuser-Busch dams. I mean, that's a really good sign. That's a sign that these judges want to help the parties get a resolution. They're doing the right thing. And so I'm really impressed with these judges and the way they're handling this case.
How many cases are there roughly in upstream versus downstream? Like how many people are involved?
There's probably cases involving 15 to 20,000 properties. The difference between upstream and downstream, the upstream, those people got water because it hit the dam and it backed up onto them. If those dams hadn't been there, that wouldn't have happened. The people downstream, all the water got backed up behind the dam, and then at a certain point, according to the water control manual that they have to follow, it's a federal document, they opened the floodgates and the water just came crashing down through all the areas east of the Anheuser-Busch dams, all the way down to the ship channel. And so all these downstream properties would not have suffered the flooding, the extent of flooding that they did, had those dams not been built and had they not opened the floodgates in the manner that they did. When they opened the floodgates, a massive amount of water just came crashing through the downstream communities. And another reason why I think these judges make an effort to come down here in person, flying in from Washington, D.C., is because this is a public proceeding. The people that have been impacted by these floods and who are involved in this litigation can come on down and sit in the courtroom, lay eyes on the judge can see them. There's going to be a lot of lawyers in this hearing, a lot of clients in the hearings. And that just makes it real, and the judge can see how many people have been impacted. The judge can see that all the work the lawyers have been doing, the clients have been doing, putting together materials and documents and information to help us push their cases forward. And so I know in this day and age we do a lot of Zoom and online hearings, but in cases like this, where entire communities of thousands and thousands of people are involved, I like to see the judges come in person, look at the clients, look at the lawyers in the eyes, tour the impacted areas. These judges literally put boots on. They're wearing caps, sunglasses, riding around in a van that the Army Corps of Engineers is driving. And they're literally on a guided tour. And the lawyers for the Department of Justice, that's DOJ, and the lawyers, myself and the other few lead lawyers, are telling the judge what he's looking at or what she's looking at. And that's really important for the judge to get a feel for exactly what the area looks like. And then the judges see the thousands of photographs of properties and homes, literally entire communities that were underwater during Harvey for an extended period of time, none of which would have occurred had those dams not been there. And so basically, the overriding concept here is that the upstream properties sacrificed themselves. The properties were sacrificed to save as much of downtown and the communities east of the dams, all the way down to the ship channel. The upstream communities bit the bullet, and they are entitled to compensation. And we've literally already won 2 trials at the trial court level. We won the appeal at the Federal Court of Appeals. That's over. The only appellate option that the government has that's left is the United States Supreme Court. That's going to be tough for them. We don't know if they're going to even pursue that. But it's all indications are that this case is headed towards a positive outcome. And this hearing this morning is one huge step in that direction.
So the first question people always ask about these hurricane cases, or one of the first questions, is like, what did the government do wrong? And that's a natural question because in most of our cases, we have to prove wrongdoing, which normally means negligence. Sometimes it could mean even worse than negligence. But in these cases, it's not about whether the government was negligent. That's not the question. The question is actually much more simple than that. The question is, did they take the property?
Like, let me pick up on that.
Explain,
Look,
explain that
the government did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
We're not even saying the government did anything wrong. The government designed the dams to save downtown Houston, to save the Chip Channel when the inevitable massive storm was going to hit. That happened when Harvey hit our city. In this case, we've uncovered millions of documents. The government knew this was going to happen. Every 10 years or so since the 1950s, the government, they got together and said, look, all these people are building private homes in these areas. When this storm hits, they're going to get covered up. Their properties are going to get literally destroyed. And the government had these checklists, and the checklists were options of what they could do to address that injustice. And so the boxes were buy all that property up and make it government-owned land. So if it floods, the government owns it, no harm, no foul to private citizens. The other option was do nothing and wait and then deal with it in litigation. Every decade, multiple times, the government decided to not buy any of the land and just deal with it in litigation. So that's what we're doing now. They're dealing with it in this litigation.
Let me ask you this question, because I think a lot of people might want to know, why does this take so long? Like, why? Most of our cases, a year, 18 months, 2 years, that's probably the average. But these kind of cases against the government seem to take a long time. Why do you think that is?
Well, for this particular case, it's because it's so big and it involves so many people and so many communities here in our city of Houston and West Houston and in Katy. And so, not to mention the fact of COVID that shut down the court system for a while. We've had a number of government shutdowns. And so unfortunately, all of that impacts the speed by which we can push a case like this forward. But we've been pushing this case forward as efficiently and as quickly as possible. The good news is that seems like the end is in sight. And this hearing this morning is a huge step in that direction.
All right, so we're outside the federal courthouse, early morning in Houston. Federal courthouse, they all look kind of similar, kind of imposing. But anyway, first hearing of the morning. We'll see how it goes, and then we got another one in Beaumont this afternoon, heading that way in a couple hours. So anyway, wish us luck. All right, so hearing's still going on. It's been going on for about 2 hours now. The government's got their lawyers there from the Department of Justice. The judge is here from Washington, D.C., and we've got basically a full courtroom, although they did use a little smaller courtroom today. Bunch of discussion about how to go forward now that the government has basically lost, whether the government's going to file an appeal to the Supreme Court, how the damages will be calculated, how they would be paid out. A lot of stuff was talked about today. Didn't really get any answers. Like I said, the hearing's still going on, but tomorrow there's going to be some more proceedings. Hopefully there'll be a little more clarity at some point. Hopefully people will start getting paid. Hopefully the government will realize that they've lost, or they basically lost. Hopefully at some point they'll realize it's time to stop talking about whether they're responsible and time to start being responsible. And what does that mean? Being responsible means paying money to people. Saying sorry, saying we wish this wouldn't have happened, that doesn't cut it. So that's the end of the hearing today. Now I'm going to Jefferson County. It's about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. We got another hearing. Anheuser-Busch has been calling me this morning, trying to work out the issues. And guess what, guys? It's too late for that. It's way too late. So we'll see you in court in about an hour and a half.